Hello everyone, Blueknight here and welcome back to another Ratchet Clank Rift Apart video. So recently we got over 16 minutes worth of brand new footage for Rift Apart during PlayStation's most recent State of Play. And today I'm continuing my analysis / breakdown of everything we saw by going over Ratchet's side of the demo. Now some of the things that are included in Ratchet's gameplay, like the HUD and Mrs. Zircon, I already discussed quite a bit in the last video, going over Rivet's gameplay, so I'm not going to make that too much of a focus here. And by the way, if you haven't seen that video for my breakdown of Rivet's gameplay, then I recommend checking it out in the top right corner. So without further ado, let's dive back into the State of Play footage. We start with a short glimpse of Nefarious City before seeing Ratchet, who just got separated from Clank and quickly finds out that there's another Lombax. Now, I know I touched upon this in the previous video, but look at the amount of detail they added to Ratchet's fur here. He literally feels like he came straight out of a Pixar movie, with all the work they put into his model and how his fur reacts when it's wet, not to mention how much more expressive he is compared to
Ratchet.
That still gives me nightmares. But there's still no question that this is the best Ratchet has ever looked. Even when we go and compare him to his movie model, Rift Apart still looks miles better in comparison. And heck, just for fun, here's a quick visual comparison of Ratchet's Rift Apart model from the announcement trailer, the Gamescom demo, and the current State of Play footage. Now, it could be due to the lighting in the respective scenes, but to me, his model looks like it was updated multiple times before arriving at the current one. Am I the only one who thinks that? Anyways, we got these really nice and accurate puddle reflections. Oh no, this better not turn into another Spider-Man Puddlegate scenario. I'm serious, if I see one comment anywhere when the game releases, and it happens to concern the puddles in Nefarious City supposedly being downgraded, I'm legit gonna lose my marbles with just how nitpicky this is. Moving on, we are once again shown just how smoothly the game transitions from cutscenes right into the gameplay, thus beginning Ratchet's search for Clank. And right off the bat, Ratchet starts interacting with the citizens of this city, trying to find clues as to Clank's whereabouts. And of course, they don't answer him, but that could be because they don't like organic life forms, hence why the only citizens we see in this city are robots, and it could possibly explain why they think Rivet had taken Clank hostage, but then again she is wanted, so they could use that as an excuse to try to, catch her. Immediately afterward, when Ratchet smashes a crate, we can see the HUD once again. Now everything is in the same place like it was in Rivet's gameplay, but something I didn't notice at first is the fact that the HUD is completely different depending on which of the two Lombaxes you're playing as. Primarily, it's the shapes and colors. Ratchet's features hexagons, while Rivet's features circles. Ratchet's is blue and orange, while Rivet's is more yellow mixed with purple. Don't take that as a sign of Spyro 4 happening anytime soon. And because of this, we could go ahead and assume that Clank's HUD will also have a unique design, but we'll have to see about that at a later time. Up until this point in the demo, we not only see one of Ratchet's idle animations, but we already notice that the city is full of life, with non-playable characters and ships being seen everywhere we look, giving the impression of a fully explorable city. Well, actually, yes it is a fully explorable city, which is a first for the series. And this is what blown my mind when I first saw it, because when we hear of an open world location in a Ratchet & Clank game, it's usually a nature-based level, or at least partially nature-based, with a specific collectible in mind, just like Gaspar in the reimagining. But never a city. I mean, there's a new path pretty much everywhere you look here, and that tells me we're going to be here for quite a while. But this is on a whole other level for the series, and this is all the more reason I'm wanting to get a PS5, which I'm still not having any luck with, by the way. But besides that, it has been confirmed by Marcus Smith that some of the planets in Rift Apart are more open than what we're typically used to, just like, well, Nefarious City like you're seeing right now, and Sargasso, with the traditional linear level design still appearing in the game with the likes of a Megalopolis level. So don't worry, Rift Apart hasn't turned the series into a full-blown open world game. It still retains its identity while it's evolving and expanding. Now, when we enter the Bazaar area, we once again see the statue of Emperor Nefarious, and Ratchet now realizes that there are now two Nefariouses, but he decides to push on and look for Clank before dealing with Nefarious. At several points in the demo, we can see Ratchet making use of his hover boots once more, and if you're familiar with how they worked in A Crack in Time when Ratchet was solo and searching for Clank, you're in luck. They work exactly the same here in Rift Apart. Although closer to the end of the demo, we see that we can do tricks with the hover boots. I'm not sure how that's going to work just yet, so again, that's something else we're going to have to wait and see on. Now, when we meet Mrs. Zircon, who by the way, I absolutely love what they did with her. By giving her all of this personality, it suits the character and continues to add to the overall charm of the series. Ratchet seems to instantly recognize her from his dimension, but likely didn't expect her to be selling weapons rather than trying to blast him. And she brings up a resistance to him, but Ratchet is completely clueless as to what she's referring to. Now, either because he's an organic life form, or because he's a Lombax is why she told him about the resistance. If it's the latter, and since Rivet is also a Lombax, could it be possible that there are other Lombaxes hanging around this dimension too? That honestly might be a stretch, so I'm not gonna bother looking too much into that, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the weapons that we get to see at Mrs. Zircon's shop. Some of these are obviously new, like the Ricochet, which we've seen in Rivet's gameplay. This one I think is the Topiary Sprinkler, and this one could be the Negatron Collider. Now we can also see a couple of classic weapons here as well, like the Warmonger and the Buzzblades. These two join the Pixelizer, which can be unlocked early by pre-ordering or getting the physical launch edition, as some of the few weapons that are returning to the game, with Marcus Smith confirming that there will be a few returning classic weapons, obviously including these three. If there will be any more, well, seeing as the arsenal in this game is primarily entirely brand new, I wouldn't expect too many more returning weapons. Now, when Ratchet finds Clank, he needs to find a way to get off the planet and follow him and Rivet. But he can't just take any ship, otherwise...
Only royal starships are allowed to leave. Anything else?
I just like how perfectly timed that was. That's like classic Ratchet and Clank humor right there. But in order to get off the planet, we need to find a royal starship, which the character Phantom, who we don't see in the demo, can help us out with. We can find him at a place called Club Nefarious, which is not only where we find the alcohol reference mentioned in the ESRB rating, but we can easily find it by following the beat of the music, which is pretty good by the way.
Nefarious? So that sounds like a club, all right. Phantom, where are you?
And since I was listening to this with headphones, it really helps give an accurate idea of where the music is coming from, due to the game's use of 3D audio, and it's really a surreal experience to do something like this in a Ratchet and Clank game, because we're usually spending most of our time just blasting enemies. But in the clip we just heard, we can hear our Nefarious making like these public announcements over the loudspeakers. It was a little difficult to make out everything he said, but what I could make out was, "Now that I'm back, I'm starting Operation Dream," and I honestly could not make out the rest of it. So he just showed up, started posing as the Emperor, and now he's already got plans in place for something that we'll likely find out about later in the game. Man, this guy works fast. Heading into Club Nefarious, we can spot a hologram of the actual Emperor Nefarious. But being in this nightclub-like building, I honestly never expected to see something like this in a Ratchet and Clank game. Okay, we did have Obani Draco from Up Your Arsenal, but that's not really the same thing. However, I will say that given the thumping music and the colorful light shows of this place, this would be the perfect spot to find an alternate version of Courtney Gears if she was to return in this game. Now, once we find Phantom, Ratchet's overall moveset has been greatly improved upon. He can now wall run, just like Rivet, and also Crash Bandicoot. Oh, wait. Yeah, I forgot, he's not in this game. Ratchet can also dash while in the air to cover a greater distance and to avoid enemy attacks, allowing for smoother mobility across the game, on top of combining these moves with swing shot targets. And by the way, there's a huge Megacorp sign right here. No idea what this version of Megacorp focuses on, but all I know is that their signs are scattered all over the city for us longtime fans to find. Now, something I did notice when Ratchet does this dash move, it's not the same thing he does in the Gamescom footage, where Ratchet would use the Rift Tether to either dodge to the left or to the right. I'm thinking that this dash move is simply an updated version of this move, and that it's not outright replacing it. What do you guys think? The next area we get to see of Nefarious City seems to be part of one of the several missions in this level. In this one, we have to distract the Nefarious troopers, so this mystery character, probably Phantom, can hack Nefarious's propaganda blimp. We once again see the Rift Tether being used in the game, this time using it to get up to a higher location that is usually out of reach. And as you can imagine, can work to our advantage in a combat situation. Once up here, and after Ratchet breaks these crates, one of them being the newly designed ammo crates, we can see that ammo pickups have been changed to these holographic icons accompanied by the respective weapons icon. You would think it'd be harder to make out what weapons these are for compared to what was used in the reimagining, but I'm actually okay with this choice. Next up, we encounter a boss known as a Nefarious Juggernaut, right under the statue of Emperor Nefarious. The fact that cutting in line is against the law in this town is not only absurd, but it's almost equally funny that it's even a law to begin with. But man, this boss fight is just insane, and it gets even more crazy when a dimensional portal takes the fight over to an entirely new level from a completely different planet. And that's all thanks to the power of the PlayStation 5's SSD. And as Ratchet would say,
That was pretty impressive.
Also, I just noticed that when Ratchet gets sucked into these rifts now, he kinda stretches out for a split second as he enters it, rather than what he used to do, which is nothing. It's honestly a nice touch. And when the boss fight starts, Ratchet's combat stance here reminds me of Spider-Man's when the cutscenes transition to gameplay. Again, it's the same developers, so I'm not too surprised on this one. And finally, we have one of these mutants that we last seen in the 2016 reimagining for Nebula, G34, and Gaspar respectively, appearing right here. But I don't recall them appearing anywhere else in the game, nor do I recall such an almost untouched planet in the reimagining. So what I would like to imagine is, this is a reimagined Eudora from the original game. That was cut from the 2016 reimagining. It's the only planet I can think of that would fit the bill, with the trees, the grass, and the rocky environment. Because until Drek's forces showed up to harvest the trees in the original game, it was pretty much untouched, thus fitting the description. And if this is Eudora, which was in the Solana Galaxy, maybe this is Insomniac's way of making up for not including every level from the original game in the reimagining. Because let's not forget, we're getting alternate dimension takes on locations from previous games, so anything's possible. But anyways guys, that's going to do it for this breakdown of Ratchet's gameplay from the recent State of Play demo. If you guys stuck around for the whole thing, thank you so much, it's really appreciated. And just so you guys know, this isn't the end of the State of Play gameplay breakdown videos, as there's still one more left to go, and it concerns all the extra features and things that we learned about after the two main parts of the demo. That video should be arriving in just a few days, and I'm hoping it's going to be a much shorter video compared to these past two videos. So yeah, as always, what are your thoughts on the game so far? And did I miss anything particularly interesting? Be sure to leave it all down in the comments section below, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell to stay up to date with everything Rift Apart, and also the next breakdown video when it goes live. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching and the constant support. I've been Blueknight, and I'll see you guys back here next time.
What?